Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to Relationships Rebuilt. Today, we're talking about the most important and yet overlooked skills for building a strong marriage, and that is the art of listening. Now, it doesn't sound very exciting, does it? Well, hear me out. Have you ever been in the middle of a conversation with your spouse, but you're not really there? Maybe you're thinking about what you're going to do or say next, or jumping in and offering unsolicited advice before they've even finished their sentence. And it's something that we've all been guilty of from time to time, but unfortunately, it's one of the biggest barriers to true connection in a marriage because poor communication issues, including listening skills, are at the heart of 65% of all divorces. So if you want to safeguard your relationship, it has to be a top priority. But you need to find out what true listening really looks like in a marriage. And that's exactly what we're going to explore today, because I'm going to share the 7 most common listening mistakes that can really damage your relationship, and most importantly, how to fix it. So, number 1, talking more than listening. Okay, that's easy to fall into as a habit, especially when you have a stressful situation. Let me give you an example. Your wife has had a really tough day at work. Her boss has been super demanding. A big project has gone wrong and she's feeling really overwhelmed. So she comes home ready to vent and just let it all out. But instead of letting her fully express herself, you keep interrupting, sharing your own stories about you, about your day, and or jumping in with advice. So what happens? She feels ignored and unheard. And that's the last thing anyone needs or wants in a marriage, right? Because at the end of the day, we just want to be listened to and understood and respected by our partners. And I remember a personal time when we've been going through a stressful situation in our business, and we've been distracted with 7 kids and distracted with our own issues about making things work. It's very easy to miss and feel dismissed, and in those situations, the feelings just are not respected. Now, rushing to solutions is number 2. We all want to fix it. Many people are very natural born fixers. Your partner brings the problem up and you immediately start offering advice how to solve it. And usually it's well intentioned. I get it. You just want to help. But the truth is, your spouse doesn't really always need you to fix things. They just want to feel that you're listening and that you're validated, or you're validating rather, their feelings. Say, for example, your husband's really stressed about his job, about budget cuts and money. And if you jump in with a bunch of suggestions before he's even finished explaining, he'll just feel dismissed, like his emotions aren't valid. And in effect, look, you're trying to get him to suck it up and move on. And I've seen this situation play out firsthand with a recent client and his wife who was going through a difficult time at her work. And when she was trying to open up about it, he jumped in with ideas about how to solve it, what to do, and it just drove a wedge between them for a while. Now he slows down, listens, ponders, supports. It works. The third big listening mistake is leading with judgment. That is a huge problem because it sounds like criticism, and no one really wants to talk to a judgmental listener. And if your initial response is to point out what they've done wrong, then you're going to find your partner will shut down and will be less likely to feel vulnerable enough to open up in the future. Another example with a client I had was where his wife made a mistake at work and it cost the business a decent amount of money. His first instinct was to say to her, well, how could you let that happen? Why didn't you check it? What were you doing? Um, if you're on the other side of that, you're going to feel ashamed and defensive. And it's going to take you quite a while to get back to a point where you can openly communicate. So approach the problem with empathy first and saying, I know this is really difficult for you. Can you tell me why you're feeling like this and what can we really open up as a dialogue to discuss how to solve it? Okay, honest, productive dialogue is the solution. So those are the first 3 of the common listening mistakes that can really cause a problem in your marriage. But you can become a good listener. You need to just shift your approach and transform your communication to build a deeper, more connected relationship. Which leads me into number 4, which is multitasking during conversations. The kids come in, we've got dinner to cook, someone's on the phone. When you're multitasking, when someone's talking to you, you're just not truly present. No one can do it. And it sends a message that what's happening in front of you is more important than them. And that, as I say, is another huge error. Mistake number 5, interrupting. You want to jump in and solve the problem. You want to share your own thoughts and experiences. But when you interrupt, it communicates what they're saying is not important. You see this in couples all the time, not just on reality shows, but in real life. It creates a lot of tension and frustration. Pause and pivot. Take an effort to hold your tongue, let your spouse finish and say their bit, and then ask if you can respond. Okay, that's a very respectful act of patience that can make all the difference. God, we're already at number 6, which is mind reading. You think you know what your partner is actually thinking or what they're trying to say before they've even said it, and you're offering your answer before it's even landed. But again, your spouse just feels misunderstood, and you're not making that extra effort to just find out what's going on inside. You'll miss the mark by making those assumptions. And finally, number 7, although there are plenty more we're going to talk about, is selective listening. Often when the pressure is on, you may only hear parts of the conversation that you want to hear because you're tuning out the rest, because that makes you feel uncomfortable, or it may even threaten your ego. Your brain shuts down and latches onto the bits and pieces that you want to respond to. And that's when there's a sensitive subject, it's very easy to slip into that. One person starts talking about the issue, the other person only latches onto the parts that they can either argue or respond to. It shuts down the conversation again. So make a conscious effort to stay present and engaged, even when it's difficult. Don't tune out. If you don't understand something, ask them what they're trying to say. Just say, I don't understand. Okay, so we've hurtled through 7 big mistakes. Let's recap. Talking more than you can listen. Rushing to provide solutions. Leading with judgment. Multitasking during conversations. Interrupting your partner. Making assumptions instead of truly listening. And selective listening. Common habits that damage communication and intimacy. You need a few simple shifts in your approach, and that can lead to big changes and quickly. So here are my tips for effective listening. Always make eye contact, put down your devices, and just give undivided attention. Ask thoughtful questions, okay, that relate to what they're talking about. You'll better understand their perspective. Validate their feelings. Say something like, it sounds like you're really frustrated about that. Tell me more. Wait until they're finished speaking before you respond. Okay, and when it's your turn to speak, focus on connecting rather than just, getting your point across about what you're thinking of your solutions. Phew, well, we've covered a lot of ground today, but if poor communication is hurting your marriage, please do not miss my video, Marriage Timeout for Couples. Calm down, talk it out, and move on. It's a step-by-step breakdown on how to de-escalate arguments and quickly recover and reconnect. And if you need to hit the reset button in your relationship, click the link down below to my marriage workshop that will help you to save and rebuild your relationship. I'll see you in the next video.